The man has been carrying stone for 11 days, not metaphorically, physically. A stone block weighing 40 kilograms, lifted from the quarry floor at dawn, carried up the mountain ridge on his back using a wooden frame and rope harness, set down at the construction line, returned to the quarry, lifted again, 40 times a day, every day, since he arrived at this section of the northern frontier 6 months ago, and will continue until the wall reaches the next watchtower position or until his body gives out, whichever comes first. His name does not survive in the historical record. He is one of 300,000 people working on this section of wall in 221 BC, the first year of the Qin dynasty, the first year that one man, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, has unified the warring states of China into a single entity and immediately turned that unified labor force toward the largest construction project in human history. The stone carrier does not know he is part of history. He knows he is cold. He knows his back has not been fully straight for 6 months. He knows that the man who worked beside him last week is gone. Where exactly is unclear, the information not volunteering itself in either direction. And that a new man has taken his position in the carrying line without ceremony. He lifts the stone, starts up the mountain. The wall exists because of a specific fear, not an abstract fear, a precise, documented, historically verified fear of the people to the north. The Xiongnu, nomadic confederations of the Mongolian steppe, whose cavalry could appear from the north with a speed and force that settled agricultural civilization had no natural defense against. They came on horses faster than any messenger could warn of their approach, struck, took what they needed, grain, livestock, people, and were gone before a military response could be organized. The agricultural civilization of China was rich and rooted. The Xiongnu were mobile and fast. The asymmetry was the problem. The wall was the solution, not a solution that stopped the Xiongnu, not a solution that eliminated the threat, but a solution that changed the terms. A wall forces the mobile to become slow, forces the fast to become predictable, forces the people who exist by movement to encounter something that does not move. The first emperor understood this with the specific clarity of a man who had just spent 20 years conquering 6 kingdoms and was not interested in losing what he had built to cavalry from the north. He ordered the wall. The logistics of what he ordered are almost impossible to process. The northern frontier of unified China ran for thousands of kilometers across terrain specifically designed by geography to be inhospitable. Mountain ridges, river valleys, desert margins, the specific hostile topography of the boundary between the agricultural world and the steppe world. Building anything along this line would be difficult. Building a continuous fortification wall averaging 6 meters high and 5 meters wide, with watchtowers every few hundred meters in the 3rd century BC, without mechanized transport, without modern engineering, with hand tools and human muscle, and the specific organizational capacity of an imperial state that could compel labor, but could not make stone lighter or mountains smaller. The wall required material, stone from local quarries where stone existed, rammed earth where it did not, brick in the sections where neither was available and the kilns could be established. Every material different depending on location. Every location presenting different challenges, the wall adapting to the terrain it crossed because the terrain did not adapt to the wall. The wall required people. The historical estimates range from 300,000 to 1 million workers at the peak of construction. Soldiers conscripted into labor, peasants pulled from their fields at the specific moment their agricultural labor was least needed, criminals sentenced to the wall as punishment, the specific population of people with no alternative to being here,
The wall waits for
supervised
no
by
man.
military officers, fed by a supply chain that was itself an engineering achievement, moving food to hundreds of thousands of people working in terrain where roads did not yet exist. The wall required time. Qin Shi Huang's version connected and extended existing walls that the warring states had already built. Later, dynasties rebuilt, extended, rerouted. The wall that most people think of when they think of the Great Wall, the brick and stone structure with the specific crenellated battlements and watchtowers, is primarily Ming Dynasty, built between 1368 and 1644, nearly 2,000 years after the first emperor ordered the first version. 2,000 years of building the same thing. The
Now hurry
specific
back down.
persistence of a
We need more
civilization
stone before
that kept
sunset.
returning to the same solution across dynasty after dynasty, because the problem the wall addressed never fully resolved. The watchtower network was the wall's actual function, not the physical barrier, the information system. A watchtower every 300 meters, each one staffed, each one with a supply of dry wolf dung that, when burned, produced a smoke signal visible for kilometers. One smoke column meant approaching enemy, two columns meant 500 soldiers, three columns meant 1,000. Four columns meant 5,000, the specific military semaphore of a civilization that needed to move information faster than cavalry could move. A signal originating at the northern frontier could reach the imperial capital in 24 hours. The Xiongnu, moving at full cavalry speed, required weeks to cover the same distance. The wall gave the agricultural civilization something it had never had against the nomadic threat: time. Not safety. Time. The men in the watchtowers understood this, stood their watches through the Mongolian winter, when the temperature dropped to -40, and the wind came off the steppe, with nothing to slow it for 1,000 kilometers. Watch the northern horizon with the specific focused attention of people who understood that what they were watching for would not announce itself. Some of them waited their entire posting without seeing anything.
Continues here, regardless
Some of
the
them
terrain.
saw
Prepare
everything.
the legions.
The dead are in the wall. Not metaphorically, historically documented, archaeologically supported. The bodies of workers who died during construction were incorporated into the wall itself in some sections, buried in the rammed earth or the foundation fill because moving them was inefficient, and the construction schedule did not pause for the logistics of burial. The wall as grave, the grave as wall. The specific equivalence of a project so large that human cost became construction material. The stone carrier does not think about this. He is carrying stone, not thinking about what the wall contains, or will contain, or what his own position in that accounting might eventually be. He is thinking about the next step, the weight on his back, the ridge above him where the construction line is visible against the sky, men moving, material moving, the wall extending another meter today as it extended yesterday and will extend tomorrow. He reaches the top, sets the stone down. The supervisor marks his tally. He turns around, starts back down toward the quarry. Stand on the wall today. Any section. The restored Ming Dynasty sections near Beijing, the crumbling Qin Dynasty remnants in the northwest desert, the sections that are neither fully restored nor fully collapsed, but exist in the specific intermediate state of something very old that has been partially maintained and partially abandoned. Look north. The terrain is the same terrain the Xiongnu crossed. The same wind comes from the same direction it has always come from. The same mountain ridges run in the same directions they ran. In 221 BC, when the first emperor looked at his unified empire and looked at his northern frontier and decided that the gap between them needed to be physically closed. The wall does not feel like history standing on it. It feels like geology. like something the mountain produced rather than something humans built onto the mountain. The specific quality of something so large and so old that it has stopped being an object and started being a condition. Part of the terrain, part of the weather, part of the specific texture of existing in this landscape. 300,000 stone carriers made it that way. Made it heavy enough to feel geological. Made it permanent enough to outlast the dynasty that ordered it, the dynasties that rebuilt it, the empire that eventually stopped maintaining it. The wall remains. The stone carrier's name does not. The wind comes from the north. It has always come from the north. The wall does not move.